I didn't say boo today. I am so excited to have Nettie on screen with us this week. And I'm excited because we're going to be talking about a castle. You know a castle's haunted. It's a given.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let me take a minute and welcome everybody in over here. We have Hitch Up in Tow. We have Fordman, a.k.a. Kenneth Oakes. We have Shanna Craft. And we have Thrifty Angela, K&R Destinations that will be on at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So go check them out today. And then other people will be popping in, I'm sure. I'll try to say hello as we go along. Are you ready to get started, Nettie?
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited.
All right, here we go. Look at that creepiness. That's creepy. We're going back. I think it's haunted, and I don't even know the story yet. All right. Oh, yes. I completely forgot to mention that Days Great Adventure, are they going live or are they having a premiere next? They come on right after us. It's a premiere. Okay, yeah. So Days Great Adventure, we'll go check them out for the premiere after this. All right. I want to live in this haunted castle.
Oh, yeah.
Let's keep going. All right. I'll let you go first.
Okay. The Lennox Castle Hospital. The castle ruins in Lennoxtown, Glasgow, Scotland, are a great draw to urban explorers, but not many people are aware of the long and infamous history of this castle-turned-hospital.
We have Nomadic Hippie just popped in. Angela's listening from her phone, and Our Epic RV Adventure. Hello. Glasgow, Scotland, huh? The large 3-story building was designed by architect David Hamilton in 1837. His design also incorporated a tower 5 stories high, and the entrance was a large porch on the north side. The castle was built in a neo-Norman style of red sandstone, and construction took 4 years. That's crazy to me that was built back in the 1800s, yet it looks so structurally sound. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Happy Place. I guess I just can't wrap my head around how buildings that old are still so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yet buildings we built 40 years ago are falling apart. Here you go.
The first owner was John Lennox Kincaid and his family. During World War I, the family mansion was converted into a military hospital.
Dun, dun, dun. Here comes the hauntings. Military hospital. In 1925, the Glasgow City Council recognized the need for a new psychiatric hospital, and within a short time, a plan was developed to create the largest and best equipped institution of its kind in the entire country. Oh, okay. So military and psychiatric. There's going to be some crazy ghosts. So beautiful, though.
Mm-hmm. They always are beautiful.
And everything starts swinging above you. Not so beautiful anymore.
2 years later, Glasgow Corporation purchased Lennox Castle for this very purpose. The cost of the castle itself and a surrounding 494 hectares, which is 1,222 acres of land, amounted to euro 25,000. However, the final cost of transforming the former castle into a hospital was euro 1.25 million.
That's awful pricey for back then.
I would think so.
The official opening of Lennox Castle Certified Institution for Mental Defectives. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did they say the place is for mental defectives? How about the mentally ill? Like
Yeah.
something, you shouldn't call people defective. I don't know. That's not very nice. All right, I'm going to start over again. The official opening of Lennox Castle Certified Institution for Mental Defectives took place in 1936. At the time, it was considered a thoroughly modern hospital with a capacity for 1,200 patients. Hey, Tommy Travels and Full-Time Dream. Welcome in. He said, I'm mentally defective today. Oh, boy. The things that they got away with back then that are just not okay today, you know?
Right.
I like the panda bear on the bed there.
It's going to turn his head in a moment.
Yeah. Turn and look at me. I jump out of my chair. See y'all later. No more haunted channel.
There were 20 dormitories for male and female patients. Each dormitory could accommodate about 60 people. The men's and women's section had their own canteens, kitchen, and workshop.
Well, that's nice that they had like enough room to do separate canteens, kitchens, workshops, and along with the dormitories being separate. So it was almost completely separate, you know what I mean? Rather than, hopefully this doesn't turn into a nasty, like they peed all over themselves and were left there for hours type of story, but we'll keep going.
We'll keep going.
She said, keep going. Patients also had access to 2 communal dining halls with seating for 600 people in each, and a central assembly hall which housed a stage, equipment for cinema shows, and recreational facilities. Well, so far it sounds like a dream for the defective people.
Right?
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Even the grounds are gorgeous.
Pretty large.
Huge.
There was also an administrative block, 40 houses to provide housing for married staff, and a visitor's tea room. The castle was used to house patients while the modern hospital was built, after which it became a home for nurses.
I'm going to read that one more time. There was also an administration block, 40 houses to provide housing for married staff, and a visitor's tea room. The castle was used to house patients while the modern hospital was built, after which it became a home for the nurses. So they allowed married people? 40 houses provide housing for, married staff.
Married
Okay.
staff.
Got it. I was thinking married defective people, and I was like, wait a minute. If they're that defective, how are they getting married?
Right.
In addition to these facilities, there was a central auditorium, a large hall with a stage, and equipment for filming screens. When shows and films were not being put on, the hall could also be used as a place of rest. Are these soldiers or nurses? The men, are they soldiers?
I think that's probably during the World War I.
Okay. Shanna Kraft said, where, oh, where could be? Where, oh, where? I'm in the defective ward. They finally signed me up. I think that is it's such a wrong name, but
Yeah. With the outbreak of World War II, the hospital was recognition for the war effort, and some long-term but temporary arrangements were made. Regular patients were moved out of the hospital into huts on the ground, and this arrangement lasted about 40 years.
they had patients living in huts?
Yep.
It doesn't seem very secure. In addition, approximately 6 wards in Lennox Castle Hospital were converted into maternity wards. These 6 wards could accommodate about 60 patients. This temporary arrangement lasted from 1942 until 1964. That's a lot of nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. I seen the evil nurse. Hold on. Let me
did
go back
too.
to her. I found her. I found the one that gave everybody trouble. This one right here. Oh man, it's not going to let me point.
Is it
The one that looks
two
like
from?
she's got a bird on her hat.
Yep, next to the second row, right?
Yeah, second row, right in the middle. She literally looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like the hair is the same, the hat, the whole 9 yards. That's the bad nurse. She's scary. So is the doctor, though. Is it your turn or mine? I don't remember.
Mine, I think.
Okay.
There was a constant shortage of places for patients. Admissions included unmarried mothers, wayward teenagers, and those with Down syndrome.
So are they saying that unmarried mothers and wayward teenagers and Down syndrome people are all defective?
Yep.
Wow. Interesting. In 1950, discussions about expanding the hospital began. A plan was drawn up but never implemented. Instead, a decision was made to move the maternity ward to a brand new medical facility. They just need gargoyles on top of the hospital. Every corner of that needs to have gargoyles on it. Creepy. It's beautifully creepy.
Mm-hmm. Consequently, in 1960, construction began on the new Queen Mother's Maternity Hospital in York Hill. By 1964, the Lennox Castle Hospital was once again a dedicated psychiatric hospital.
Shanna Kraft said, not fit to live with normal people.
Yeah.
Well, I'd fit right in there. I don't think there is a such thing as a normal person.
Queen Mother.
Queen Mother ran that castle. Despite a promising start, conditions at Lennox Castle Hospital soon began to deteriorate. The hospital was vastly overcrowded, understaffed, and underfunded. Oh man, that looks creepy. It looks really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Shanna said, I concur. What's normal? Looks like there's no windows in that place.
The hospital reached a peak in the 1970s when around 1,700 patients were housed there. By that time, conditions were beginning to deteriorate as there were not enough staff or funding for so many patients.
Did you hear that sound on your end?
No.
Did you hear it? Did
No.
anybody else hear that sound? It sounded like a gargoyle going, meow. That was really weird.
Oh my God.
Starting to think this is a little bit haunted. Shanna Kraft says, spooky. Looks like birds should start flying around in herds or flocks. Big, you're normal. Yes. Oh, Ford Man heard the sound too. Okay, it wasn't just me that heard it. I'm not defective at the moment. Yeah, that was a creepy sound. You'll have to watch it back.
Oh my gosh.
All righty. Vulnerable patients were left to fend for themselves in the large wards. Friends and family of patients generally reported that staff tried their best despite the lack of resources, but conditions in the hospital were described as wretched and dehumanizing. This is going to be another one of those sad ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the building's definitely deteriorating. It's so big, though.
In the 1980s, life at the hospital deteriorated dramatically. The hospital director at the time, Alzadar Sim, has gone on record as saying that he had never worked in a worse pit and that he was sick to his stomach about the plight of those poor people.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is where it turns.
In 1989, the British Medical Journal conducted a study that showed a quarter of the patients at Lennox Castle Hospital were underweight and malnourished. It is now known that It is now known that if there were any infractions in the hospital, the staff would punish the offenders by restricting their diet to bread and milk only. Oh, I hate hearing that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like a lot of the hospitals, even today, a lot of retirement homes and stuff treat their patients badly, neglect them.
It was not uncommon for patients to be subject to other severe punishments for misbehavior. For example, one former patient recalled being forced to run barefoot through the castle, being hit by baseball bats for failing to address a staff member as sir. Those who tried to run away were recaptured and put in isolation for 6 weeks.
What did no one think that hey, this isn't nice. We're not going to hit this person with baseball bats. Like what? You line up and you hit a person, a human being with baseball bats? That's terrible. I hope the ghost comes back and pops people with baseball bats.
Oh, yeah.
Shanna Craft says, sounds like prison. Exactly. Patients also suffered from a lack of suitable care in the hospital, with vulnerable patients often overlooked due to staffing issues and overcrowding. Often, troublesome patients were simply given medication to keep them calm, although it was later discovered that only about 10% of the patients actually needed any psychotic medication. Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
They didn't even need the antipsychotic medication, and they were given it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
These ghosts better come back and tear crap up.
While some visitors to the hospital felt that the staff were doing their best in difficult circumstances, there were horror stories of injuries and even fatalities brought about the cruel treatment. These include one man suffering a heart attack while being physically restrained, and another being severely injured when a nurse threw a scalding hot cup of tea at him.
That's ridiculous. Our epic said, isn't that the way it always is? They don't need it, but that's true. I remember when my uncle was in a nursing home, we had to temporarily put my uncle there. I think I've told this story before, but I'm not sure. And he had to temporarily stay there because he had schizophrenia. So we needed a place that was safe for him, that they wouldn't like let him out. And then he ended up getting lost or something. While I took care of my grandma on hospice. And I went to visit him one time, and not only was there a lady in his bed all the time, because she had Alzheimer's and she believed his bed was hers. So she'd just always be in his bed. But they had a 4th of July celebration out in the little garden area, and there was a man in a wheelchair, and a kid took a sparkler and put it on the guy's leg and just left it there while it was burning hot, and the guy's in a wheelchair. I'm like grabbing a nurse, making the nurse take care of it. But at the same time, I'm thinking, why didn't a nurse see this? Why am I a visitor here having to tell them this man has fire on his leg? Well, I think it was like the next week, my uncle was always telling us the code because there was a code on the door. He was always telling us the code. And we're like, he's not supposed to know it because we don't want him getting out and getting lost. And then, well, it was a week later after that fire incident, my uncle got out. And I was like, okay, we're done. He's coming home. I don't care. So we brought him home. He didn't stay there. But that was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, not that long ago, that this stuff should not be happening still in these type of places.
Oh, wow.
Our Epic said in his bed while he was in it. Oh, sometimes he would be in it and she would go and crawl in it, or sometimes he would just go back to his room and she was in his bed. And we were like, why aren't you in your room? And he's like, oh, she's in my bed again. We're like, this should not be happening. So.
Oh, wow.
We have Oracles and Beyond that just joined us, and Griswold Family Vacay. Hello and welcome. Yeah, so that scalding hot cup of tea that got thrown on, I don't understand those kind of injuries. That just shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. In more recent years, comparisons have been drawn between Lennox and cult TV series American Horror Story Asylum. Thanks to the allegations of abuse, neglect, and terrible conditions, those who attempted to run away would be caught and locked up in isolation for up to 6 weeks, drugged with heavy doses of medication, and refused contact with visitors. Oh man, I've seen the American Horror Story Asylum. That was scary. That was one of the ones that just kind of made my stomach turn. So to think this has been compared to that is terrible.
Mm.
It looks massive.
In 1992, the castle was placed on the building at risk registered in Scotland. It had been vacated by the hospital staff in 1987.
So it stayed open till 1987? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine there's probably many ghosts that haunt that place then, being built in the 1800s and staying open until the 1900s, the end of the 1900s. In the 1990s, plans to close the hospital began to take shape. Patients were transferred to more modern psychiatric hospitals or were reintegrated into the local community. What? Wait. Okay, these patients were not only defective, but they had been drugged, I'm assuming, that while they were there, which was however long.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put them back out into the world. I wonder how that worked.
Yeah.
That can't have gone well. I'm just imagining a ghost popping out the window. Hello.
Oh, yeah. What
Shannon
said.
Kraft said. Remember, some were unwed mothers or Down syndrome patients. I think what strikes me more is the trauma that they had to have gone through there. Probably even if you went in there as a quote unquote normal person, but after suffering through all that trauma, you probably wouldn't be so normal afterwards.
Finally, Lennox Castle Hospital was closed in 2002. And by 2004, only the original building was left standing as all the other buildings had been demolished.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think that a building that was built in the 1800s stood in business until 2002 2004. I don't know. That's my mind's blown on that one.
Can
I
you
know we have a
imagine
lot of
living?
old buildings.
Can you imagine
Something
living
about
in the castle when it was just a castle? You know?
yeah. Shanna said, true. Mental for sure after years of treatment. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the amount of treatment that they went through probably didn't make them so normal afterwards. I know that there's a lot of buildings that are old that still stand today. I get that, but something about like a castle from the 1800s still being used, and I don't know, kind of blows my mind. Since then, the eerie site has lain empty and the buildings have rapidly deteriorated. The formerly grand Lennox Castle is now a crumbling shell. The area remains empty aside from occasional urban explorers looking to catch a glimpse of the former hospital. They're looking to catch a glimpse of a ghost peeking out a window.
A lot of creepy sounds are probably there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Lennox Castle itself has remained empty ever since, and it had been slowly deteriorating, even though several plans were put forward to renovate the castle and the building new housing. None of them were implemented.
That place is huge. I can only imagine it would cost way too much to redo it or fix it back up. Sadly, the building was further damaged by a fire in May 2008. The dilapidated building needed urgent attention, but planning permissions kept being extended with no work carried out. Like foggy back there where the trees are.
Yeah.
KNR said, heck no, the ghost probably put a stop to the reconstruction. they got out their baseball bats and started beating the people that were coming to try to rebuild it. The construction of Windsor Castle started in 1070, and the Queen lives there today.
Oh,
Man,
wow.
mind blown. I can't imagine. If walls could talk, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They always say, like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. No, I want to be the wall, and I want the wall to have a mouth. I want to hear what the walls have to say about what they've seen. KNR said, that's not ominous at all back there. No. The foggy background with the trees, no, it doesn't look scary at all. Hi, Three Souls Paranormal. Sorry, I can't speak. I think this one's mine.
Okay.
However, while the castle itself might have been abandoned and forgotten, a section of its grounds has gained a new lease of life. In 2006, Celtic Football Club received permission to design and build their own training complex on the grounds of Lennox Castle. Construction was completed the following summer. Shanna Kraft said, yes, seen and heard. Yeah. That just looks strange. Like let's go out and practice. And they look up out of the corner of their eye and see Ghost watching them practice. I guess they got to do something with the property, though.
Over the years, former patients have come forward to talk about their time at Lennox Castle Hospital. One person to speak out was Norman Telfer, who was placed there age 14 because he skipped school, and he remained there for 45 years.
What the hell? He skipped school at age 14 and stayed for 45 years?
I guess he was one of the wayward kids.
That's insanity. I cannot imagine what you would be thinking. Like, you make a mistake, you skip school, and 45 years later, you're still there. Oh my gosh. Sheena said, how sick. Well, that explains the why some people were put back in society. Jeez. He remembers patients being treated far worse than prisoners. He says the corridor had to be scrubbed until it was shining, or they would kick the bucket over and you would start again.
And that's him.
A bit harsh for truancy. Yes, hitch up and toe.
Beds had to be made to perfection, or they would tip them up and make you start again. The men and women were given €5 a week in pocket money, which would be docked if they stepped out of line. So they gave them money and took it away.
€5 ain't nothing, and I'm sure they were taking their money left and right. Hippie says, that's how long it took me to graduate high school. Silly. The patients had to work, some in the laundry, or, as in Norman's case, a piggery in nearby Oh, come on, y'all. You really think I can say this word? Let's try. Kirkintilloch. How'd I do? And what is a piggery? Is a piggery a pig farm?
I don't know.
Oh, look at all those little kiddos.
Yeah. He got up at 6:30 a.m., polished the floor by his bed and tidied, was fed wallpaper paste porridge, got a bus at 8 a.m. and returned at 6 p.m. to be handed a scrubber and soap to clean the floors and windows.
Wallpaper paste porridge? That's a lot of work. Shanna says it was probably a pig slaughterhouse. That's craziness. Did they not have people that came and checked on them? Marie O'Connor is another former patient who ran away multiple times. She was chased down by dogs, put in isolation, drugged, and forbidden visitors. You think with as many kids as they had, apparently they had a lot of kids from the picture, it looks like they did, that someone would have been checking on the welfare of the children. But I guess they weren't considered children so much as defective people.
Right.
That breaks my heart.
Marie had been placed in the hospital when she went off the rails, drinking and smoking and staying out.
Thrifty Angela said the line at Wendy's was ridiculous and she's glad she had us to listen to. Aw, thanks for listening. So this is another teenager that was just being a teenager and then ended up there.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed with a learning difficulty, and her parents were assured Lennox Castle was the best place for her. Marie says, I was no different from thousands of other teenagers. I knew there was nothing wrong with me, and I hadn't been strong. And if I hadn't been strong in my mind, I would have gone crazy. You know what? That's true. Like, they said there was stuff wrong with her and that she was like defective or whatever. But she had to be like super strong to be able to live through that and continue on afterwards. You know what I mean? Stronger than I think most people would be. Swear there should be a ghost hanging out a window or a gargoyle on the post there. Creepy.
Many were drugged and became institutionalized, making it almost impossible to break free.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is the amount they were drugging them. I'm sure they weren't able to be like, hey, I'm normal. They were like, hey, I'm normal, and they drooling because of the drugs. Terrible. Psychiatrists eventually admitted Marie had no learning difficulties, and she was released but her ordeal wasn't quite over. 4 years later, aged 39, she had a son, Joseph, to a former worker at the hospital. Oh no. But she had to fight to keep him, and social workers visited her up to 3 times a day until they recognized she was a fit mother. Are you kidding? Some guy took advantage of her, a worker at the hospital, took advantage of her, and then was trying to take her kid from her. Now I'm getting angry. That's a bunch of BS. Oh, look at that. That is a mama holding tight.
Her life now is a happy one, but at 48, she is angry that she left behind her youth in Lennox Castle.
Oh, I bet. I mean, we all look back on our memories and think about how we did this or did that. She looks back on her memories and thinks, oh, I spent my childhood in Lennox Castle. It's crazy. I should never have been there, she says. I'll never forget what was done to us. I wonder why they let it deteriorate so badly.
Might have been after the fire. They just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the patient... I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say, I get that they weren't even taking care of the patients, so how would they take care of the building, I guess? But it just seems like such a shame.
Sometimes the patients were used as entertainment. Women have talked of having to strip naked while staff laughed at them, and men were made to perform acts on each other for the amusement of staff.
Oh my gosh. Ugh. Ian Doak, 58, was placed in Lennox Castle for 7 years because his mother struggled to cope with him in his teenage years. Okay, what about these parents? Come on now. Like these parents that are putting their kids in here. Like you can't, just because your kid's acting out don't mean you get to give up and just be like, here, Lennox Castle, take my child. I don't know.
It doesn't seem like they had many visitors, to be honest, BB. They just left them, you know?
Yeah, and I don't understand that. I don't understand, like, no matter how much you're struggling with your child, I don't understand giving up on them. I just don't understand that. Like the kid that skipped school, the boy that skipped school. Let me tell you, if my kid skips school, I'm going to put cold cream on my face, put my hair in curlers, wear my PJs, and I'm going to go sit at school with my kid for the next week so that they learn if they skip school, I'm coming to embarrass the hell out of them. Like, you teach your kid lessons. You don't just give them away. I don't understand that. I think I read this, but Ian Doak, 58, was placed in Lennox Castle for 7 years because his mother struggled to cope with him as a teenager. Yeah.
Among his artwork is the animation of plasticine figurines seen gazing out of the castle windows. They have eyes but no mouth as a symbol of their powerlessness.
See, and what he's describing right there is what I'm imagining the ghost look like, looking out the windows. Thrifty Angela said, I could never give my kids away. Wow. Yeah. I'm right there with you. Heck, my dog could chew up my couch, and I wouldn't even give my dog away, let alone my child. You know? I don't know. Angela said, of course my boys drive me nuts sometimes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. They're good kids. Exactly. Kids are going to make bad choices. That's a part of growing up. That's how they learn. If they don't ever make any bad choices, they don't learn bad from good. Like, you can't have one thing without the other. You got to have a mix of both.
Right.
Eventually, Lennox Castle became more informal, but although patients could leave, many had nowhere to go and no clue how to live without the routines laid out for them.
Yeah, they were there like 30, 40 years. You know?
That's what I was wondering when we were talking about earlier in the story when they were saying they just put them out, like released them back. Like, how did that work out for a lot of them?
A phase program was devised in the 1990s to support them in the community. Norman, Marie, and Ian have all been successfully
reintegrated and a part of the team
of former patients, leading the Lennox Castle Stories project.
Well, that's good. At least they took them and they're having them share their story, and the community is making sure they're okay. That's a positive outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Sam Smith, who was on the commissioning team, which helped close the castle and move people out, says the project is important, lest we forget. See, I don't understand. Back to the building itself. I don't understand how things like this were built in the 1800s without the machinery that we have nowadays. I don't get it. Beautiful.
It's amazing how they could build something like that.
Yeah.
She adds, it is hard for people to imagine that in our recent history, people thought it appropriate for sections of the population to be kept isolated and away from their communities and loved ones, with no choice on how to live, on how their lives should be run.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like even in nursing homes now, which are not all that great, at least the patients get to choose, like, what do I want for dinner? Or, you know what I mean? And they don't have like chores per se.
Mm-hmm.
They have activities they can choose to do. I'm not saying everything's perfect now, but it's just, I think maybe a little bit better than this where they're being forced to work and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
In 2001, Dr. Smith funded See Change, which advocates that everyone is entitled to the help needed to allow them to live in their own home. Lennox Castle was a community, but not as we understand community. This community was built on power and control, adversity and strength, weakness and loss of self.
Her greatest pleasure has been to see the smothered spirits of the patients flourish on the outside. The same people are now mothers, fathers, workers who are part of the community and have so much to contribute. I saw them being transformed in a short space of time just by being allowed to live in their own homes.
I can't imagine being those people that look back and their childhood memories are this castle and the torture they went through. And these people are existing now, like that mom and her child. It's not like this is way back when. I don't know.
Right.
It kind of blows my mind. Very interesting. Thank you, Nettie, for putting that together. That was a great one.
Thank you.
Sad.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful castle. And then to find out what took place was unbelievable during my research, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure the people that originally built it didn't intend it to turn out being used for that.
Right.
Could you imagine the size of that place and then just you and Mel living there? Or like me and my kids living there? Like that would be insanely huge for just one family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I know. But
well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to raid Days Great Adventure. They're coming on next with a premiere. And then don't forget at 7 p.m., you're going to go over and you're going to tell Kay and our destination what has made you smile. With that being said, Thank you all so much for coming. Sundays are our favorite, as you know.
Mhm.
And I'm wishing you all much kindness and much love.
And we're sending love your way. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.